In this penultimate lesson in our series helping old school DJs return to DJing in the modern age, we're going to look at why your music is still gold and how to make the most of that. So we're going to cover 5 points here, which kind of move all over the place, from the technical to the creative to the confidence stuff and to the practice of DJing. So we're going to start with number 1, which is the truth, which is not all your old music is gold. It just isn't. So be discerning. I think it's a good idea to assemble the perfect jukebox of your life, right? If you only had a jukebox which could hold 200 or 500 or 100 songs, what would you put in it? Listen to them carefully. Make sure they are timeless classics and not filler. So only add the stuff that matters. Secondly, use modern technology to modernize your tracks. I don't mean, God forbid, asking AI to remix them for you or anything weird like that. But look, we want digital versions of our files. We've already talked about that. We want to get a pristine, really well mastered digital version of the stuff that we love, each individual track in our DJ music library. Once it's there, we can use all the modern tools. One of the great tools is beat gridding, which will allow you to do some more complicated mixing, acapellas and layering and so on with old music that you really couldn't do before because the beats were all over the place. Beat gridding can kind of tame that for you and make that easier. But also just simple things like making sure that all the metadata is correct. We talked about that earlier. You've got the right file names and you've got the right artwork attached, and so this makes it much easier to search for your songs. And using modern playlisting tools. You know, in the old days when we put a record in a pile because it was part of a playlist, it was suddenly not available for any other ideas we had. Now you can drag multiple copies of your music into different playlists and be working in all kinds of areas with the same file, including like loading the same file 4 times on your decks if you want and doing really clever stuff with it. So look, this is all fine. What I'm trying to tell you here is that using modern technology with your old school music is not somehow against the spirit of the old school or anything like that. It's all up for grabs. So do it. Don't be scared of using the modern tech. In fact, you definitely should. One reason why you should is our 3rd point, which is you should be looking for the links across the decades. You've been there a long time now. You've got longevity. You've got a foot in analog and a foot in digital. You remember the days that are now gone, but you're also still here. Use that. Use that wisdom that the time loving popular music has given you, and look for the links across the decades. I'll give you a really good example just from today. I was messing around with music, trying to find a kind of late summer, it isn't late summer, but it will be soon, a late summer nostalgic DJ set, right? And one of my go-tos there is always Don Henley's Boys of Summer, because it's a late summer nostalgic song, right? From 1985, probably, something like that. And then I thought, well, the same vibe definitely I get from Taylor Swift's Style. Now, Taylor Swift's Style is already a bit of a classic. I mean, it must be 11 or 12 years old now, but they're 30 years apart. But to me, it's the same vibe. It's that kind of nostalgia, faded sunlight, West Coast kind of, you know, those songs probably felt old even when they were released. And so put those two together, as someone who's been around popular music for nearly half a century, I can then start to get creative. What other songs fit that? And, you know, there's a mini set coming there. There's a live stream or a bar set or something coming out. Just those 2 songs coming together. Now, DJs who are not old school returning to the hobby cannot do that because they don't have that experience of music. So use that experience to try and pair things up across the ages. It's one of the big things we do in our all access mix training, because we often are triggered into, you know, performing something by exactly what I just described, and then it turns into a lesson which we film and people, you know, get a lot from it across all kinds of genres. So yeah, look for the links across the decades. Now, the next thing is, remember that people of all ages are fascinated by all great pop music. More than ever today. 2 big reasons I can think of. Number 1, pop music's kind of getting mature. It's been around a long time now. So the big leaps in music seem to have more or less happened. And what do I mean by that? Well, if you think back through the ages, you had rock and roll, and then you had 60s psychedelia, and then you had the 70s with its punk and its progressive rock and the beginnings of hip hop, and then you had the 80s with new wave, and you had disco, of course, coming through in the 70s and 80s. Then you're into house in the 90s and grunge, and, you know, I'm struggling to think of any genre, meaningful genre, that doesn't have its roots somewhere that is now decades ago. And so since the 90s, stuff's just gone in circles. Every kind of music that's appeared, and I'm sorry if I've missed your favourite genre, but you get what I'm trying to say. The big leaps seem to have happened. Since the 90s, stuff just seems to be coming around again and again, quicker and quicker. I think the second point here is TikTok, social media. This short clip kind of generation is dragging up music from the past in a way that never used to happen. You know, when I was first going out in Manchester in England, they were playing 60s psychedelic pop and the DJs thought it was new. They were just finding it in the back rooms of record shops and saying, oh, I've not heard this before, not really thinking too hard about it. That could never happen today because all music is everywhere. And the short clip social media generation have definitely been part of that. My kids, who are very young, well, I say very young, they're young teenagers now, you know, their breadth of music, the music that my daughter knows. I'm like, where on earth have you heard that? And she's like, oh, everyone knows that, don't they? So everyone is really fascinated by all ages of music, which is absolutely solid gold for you because you were there and you've got knowledge, genuine knowledge across those ages. You heard it first time round. So this is a confidence thing, really. Don't be worried about celebrating that music that you know is good. And finally, the fifth point I want to make here leads us neatly into the final video in this series, which is, as a returning DJ, as someone coming back to DJing, as someone either deciding that this is what you finally want to do and you've been putting it off for too long, or you're really going to make a go of it having dabbled for too long, this is your chance to get it right. So you must 100% do it on your terms. You know, you might have done it in the past and got disillusioned and drifted away from it. You don't ever want that to happen again. There ain't no time. You know, there is plenty of time left, but there's no time to make mistakes, right? So you've got to do this on your terms. Life is far too short at this stage to do anything you don't want to do. There are so many ways that you can follow this hobby now that can completely be true to you and to something that will keep you absorbed and happy. There is absolutely no need to do anything you don't want to do. If you don't want to play music that you don't like, there's ways of doing that. If you don't want to go out and stay out late, there's ways of doing that. If you don't want to leave your home, there's ways of doing that while getting all the fulfillment out of this hobby. And in the final lesson, we're just going to bombard you with idea after idea after idea of stuff you can do to completely fulfill what you want from DJing without doing anything you don't want to do. So let me know underneath this video what you think about playing old music nowadays. Do you find that people are still interested? Do you think that actually you're becoming irrelevant? Do you think that the old school still has something to offer? Is there a legacy play here? You feel like you've got to preserve what's important to you so it doesn't get lost? I'd really want to know what you think about everything we've talked about in this lesson. Meanwhile, go and carry on assembling that ultimate jukebox of your life. All killer, no filler in your music collection if you're coming back to this. Please promise me that. And I will see you in the next lesson. Until then, bye-bye.